Okay, tonight I am going to be using this book called Duplication. It is by Eric Lofholm and Judy O'Higgins. You can see it is a very thin book. I think when I first read it, I read it in less than an hour. I mean, it's very, very short, maybe even a half hour. It's $6. It is worth the $6. And in all honesty, if you do not have $6 to get this, I will buy it for you, okay? Because it is really good and so important. It is just about the very simple concept of duplication. I did not read this book until just this last year in February. And it was one of those like, where has this been for the past, 2 years? Like, where have I been? And so glad. And then I was on a mission after I read it to implement it to the max. So I'm literally going to be reading excerpts to you guys and then kind of elaborating. But essentially, tonight is going to be a book review. But I know you're going to learn a ton. Okay, so here's the concept of duplication. So this is, what is there? There's just 3 chapters, right? Oh, 4. The fourth one is half a page, okay? And then there's a part 2 on duplicating leadership. I am not going to do that tonight. I'm just doing part 1. So part 1, chapter 1 is the duplication concept. So here's definition of duplication. It's a word we use all the time. You hear all the time, duplicate, duplicate. And yet this is so great because it breaks it down of like, what are we actually talking about? So duplication means, in our context of network marketing, that I can replicate a successful sale many times over through a team of other distributors in order to gather hundreds or thousands of customers instead of having to close each transaction myself. So it's the idea of, I would rather have 100 people go out and find one customer than me go out and find 100 customers. It's assembling a team and leveraging that team to get our product into more people's hands. So the other thing I want you to think of, because I know there's a lot of yellows on our team, there's a lot of helpers, and there's a lot of people that don't like talking about Plexus being about selling and recruiting. Like, those words are all businessy and we don't want to talk that way. So we're going to talk that way a little bit tonight, but I want you to have that foundation that we all have, that Plexus is about changing lives. So when we're talking about selling, when we're talking about recruiting, it is absolutely with the intention and the heart of giving someone that hope that we all now have because of the products, because of this business opportunity, right? So it's not just about numbers. It's not just about getting people. It's not about the hunt. It is about, and I'll say this even about duplication. Duplication is all about setting boundaries for yourself, setting boundaries for your team. And Henry Cloud, the author of Boundaries, posted today on his Instagram stories, and I loved it. He defined boundaries as the preservation of love. When you set healthy boundaries, you are preserving love. Without boundaries, you cannot adequately and effectively and efficiently love people because you're stretched too thin, or you're constantly worried about things, you're lacking time management, whatever it is. So duplication is all about healthy boundaries so that we can work smarter and not harder, so we can more effectively love people and take care of our team. And as a result of all those things, guys, your business will grow. Okay? So when we're talking about leveraging ourselves, it's that concept of working smarter and not harder. Okay? That's what duplication is all about. It's simplifying your business. So you are wanting to replicate yourself into a large group of people. That's what duplication is all about. Okay, second important point. Being a sales superstar is not a requirement. Okay, when duplication is what you are depending on to grow your business, you are not depending upon your personality. It's not dependent upon your gifts, your strengths, your talents. Your success is dependent upon the system and upon duplication. So being a sales superstar is not a requirement. What is one of people's first objections to not doing the business? I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at sales. You don't have to be good at sales. Can you follow a system? Can you follow a few simple steps? Yes. Then you can be successful at this, okay? You only need to be able to share your enthusiasm for your product and to sign up a few customers. What if you started telling people that when they gave you an objection to the business? What if you said, you don't have to be a sales superstar. All you have to be is enthusiastic and to sign up a few people. Isn't that great that we don't have to think in terms of, in order to be successful, you need to sign up 50 people? Okay. Would any of us have started the business if we were told that? No. What were we told? 3 people, right? Power of 3. Go silver. You can find 3 people and get your business started. And that is empowering to people. We cannot ever underestimate that. You also need to be able to share your business opportunity with others who are like-minded in order to build a team of other representatives doing the same thing. These are the only 2 things that we do to be successful in our profession. Okay? 2 things to be successful in our profession is share your enthusiasm and get a few customers, and then teach those people to do the same thing. That's it. You get a few customers, you teach them to get a few customers. That's our job. I think we can do that, y'all. Okay, that was chapter 1, summed up really fast. Here's chapter 2. Here are the keys to duplicating a successful network marketing system. So here's 3 keys. Number 1, have a system. Now, we use the word system, but other similar words would be protocol, routine, just steps. We all have a system. So think about a grocery store system. Most grocery stores are set up extremely similarly, right? You walk in the front door, you grab a shopping cart, you walk through the produce section, then you walk through the refrigerated section, then you go up and down the aisles, you get to the checkout, you check out, and you leave, right? Like that's a grocery store's system, and it's simple. It's not dependent upon my personality. For me to successfully go through the grocery store or to even set up a grocery store is not dependent upon my personality or my strengths or engagement. It's just knowing what a successful layout is to a grocery store. You getting ready in the morning. I promise you have a system for getting ready in the morning, whether you shower first or brush your teeth first or right. But I'll tell you this, you don't get dressed before you get in the shower. You know, you've got a system to get ready, and it gets you from point A to point B, and it's not dependent upon your personality or your engagements or your talents or strengths. It's just, here's what you do to get ready in the morning, right? Even our kids can do it. Hopefully they're getting there. Okay, so number 1, have the system. Number 2, keep your system simple. Keep your system simple. He talks about having the first 30 days, the first 30-day plan for a new, in our case, ambassador. He says, keep it simple and clear. And when it's simple and clear, that new person will actually, they'll realize they can do it. If it's complicated, you immediately disempowered them, you immediately confused them, and they're immediately saying, never mind, I don't want to do this. But the more simple and the more clear it is, I'm talking like a few steps, then they actually think that's it, right? Like I've always said, when you get to the end of our getting started document with a new ambassador, you want them to say, that's it? Yes, this is it. This is all we do. In fact, belief is arguably the most critical element, because it doesn't matter how great the company's basic training plan is. If the new person doesn't believe they can accomplish it, then they are never really going to even try, and it's already over for them. So keeping your system simple. Number 3, follow your simple system consistently. That means every single person, you do the same thing with them, you say the same thing to them, you do it the same way every single time. So guys, this was a major light bulb of, let me ask you this. Have you ever had let's say 3 different people you're talking to about the products? You should be having the same conversation with all 3 people. It shouldn't be that one person you send an email, and one person you send a message, and one person you send a shareable, and one person you're writing them paragraphs about how the products work, and the other person you're sending a video, and the other right? You should be having the identical conversations with each person. Do you realize how much time that will save you? How much sanity it will save you? And how much more efficient your business will be if you have a system for when someone asks me for information about Plexus, here's what I do first. Then I say this, then I say this, then I do this, then I help them order. That's it. Simple and simple and consistent across the board. That way, all those, let's say they're all new ambassadors, let's say those 3 people join your team. You want all of those people joining your team to have the same experience. If they were to compare notes with each other, you want them to be able to say, well, here's what Amanda said to me first, second, and third. And you want the other 2 people to go, yeah, she did the same thing with me. That's what we're talking about when we say consistent. The same thing with every person over and over and over again. We're a broken record, right? That's our job, is be a broken record with everyone. Okay, that's it. The 3 steps is having a system, keeping it simple, following it consistently. All right, chapter 3, applying duplication to grow your team. So number 1, he talks about recruiting distributors, or in our case, that would be signing up ambassadors would be our language, our verbiage there. So he kind of breaks it down into 1, 2, 3, basically 3 little steps of here is how you sign up an ambassador. You're going to start with what he calls an interest creating remark. So basically that's your first contact with someone. It could be a question you're asking them. It could be something you're saying to them, but you're creating curiosity. You're finding out essentially if they're interested. I love Bob Heilig's verbiage of, hey, if I were to send you, and I'm kind of jumping ahead because the next step is using your company tools, but, you know, saying like, hey, I know that you've been following me on Facebook for a while. If I were to send you a video about some of my products, would you be open to watching it and learning more? That could be your interest creating remark or question. And number 2, he says, use your company tools. So we have our shareable videos, we have our information sheets, we have all sorts of videos on YouTube and whatnot, events, things like that. And then the last thing he says is following up with someone. So these are all familiar concepts that we have of basically reaching out to someone, using our company tools, and following up with people. So that's that 3-step system to signing up ambassadors, to reaching out and gaining ambassadors. Number 2, he talks about training those people, okay? So he breaks this down into 4 components. He says, 1, you want a checklist. What should this new ambassador do first? For us, you guys, that's our getting started document. That is, we are walking every new ambassador through the getting started document and giving them that little list of, here's what we do. Next, he talks about sharing the Fast Start program, you know, that your company offers to your new ambassador. So our Fast Start program is our Fast Start Gold. That's if someone adds 20 ambassadors in their first 3 levels in their first 30 days, then their silver and gold bonuses are doubled. He talks about ongoing training. And what's great with Plexus and our team page is that we've got tons of trainings, too many trainings, so many trainings. And then the last component is using events, which you guys know there's plenty of events every month for a new ambassador to be taking advantage of as well. But then there's helping them get people to those events too, right? Not just letting them know that they exist, but actually helping them get people there. Okay, and then the last thing he talks about, so he talked about recruiting, training, and then ongoing training. So here's where I would say the real test to know whether or not you are being successful at duplication is not if you are teaching your level 1s what you are doing, but to find out if your level 2s and level 3s are being taught what you are teaching and what you've been taught. So it's not just that you're duplicating your upline and you're teaching your level 1s to duplicate you, but the question is, are they duplicating you? Are they following the same exact steps with their people, and are their people following the same exact steps with their people, and so on and so forth? Chances are, this is just my experience, chances are if you and your team are ever, people use the word stuck, but you're not seeing growth. Let's see you might be seeing growth in your level 1s and your level 2s, but you're not seeing much growth beyond that. Chances are it's a duplication weakness. And something's not duplicating down. Something's not happening in your lower levels that is happening with you and your upper levels. So finding out where that breakdown takes place. And then it's as simple as letting them know what the system is and training them, because maybe there was a training breakdown to where they didn't get broken down. Now, the last chapter in that section, the half-page chapter is just duplication takes time. So where I was at in February, realizing that there was a breakdown in duplication, I knew that it wasn't just a matter of, okay, we got to fix this. Because if you haven't been a broken record, if you have been treating every single person differently, if you've been running your business very sporadically and spontaneously and it hasn't had those boundaries, it's going to take time for you to establish those boundaries and then to enforce them, to practice them, and to pass them down to your team. But I will say this, when it finally starts happening, you will see that you are working less and seeing the same results as when you were working more, because your team will be more efficient. It will be more empowered. That's the other thing that I'm sure he talks about in here, but I think knowing that when you have a system, it even sets your team at ease, because no longer are they going to look at you as a gold ambassador, but you can break it down for them. And it's not that we want to teach people how to go gold, right? I don't want to teach you guys how to go ruby. The great thing about our compensation plan is that it's all about going silver over and over and over, and teaching our people to go silver and helping them help their people go silver. That really our comp plan is set up that if you go silver and everyone in your organization goes silver 7 levels down, you have diamond pay points. Our comp plan is all centered around the simplicity of the power of 3. So we're not thinking in terms of how can I add 10 people to my team, 15 people to my team. It's, I'm looking for 3 people this month, and I'm helping each of my level 1s find 3 people this month. And then when we all add 3, then we're going to teach those 3 to do the same. And I realize it sounds idealistic and it sounds simple. But I think we just have to shake our brains up and remind ourselves that it really is that simple, and that having boundaries in your business, I would say just some boundaries I would recommend are business hours. If you do not have business hours, you will get burnt out, because your business will be sporadic and spontaneous, and it ends up bleeding into family time, and I only have 5 minutes to do this and I have to hurry up, or I don't even have time to send them a welcome email for 48 hours because tomorrow's crazy and we're having company. And so having those clear business hours is so important. And having those boundaries of let me put it this way, who is worth your time? I was talking with someone yesterday and today about that concept of dragging people and holding people's hands and getting to the point where you've been holding their hand way too long and they're tired of having their hand held. And I think a lot of times it's the result of not having set up clear boundaries at the beginning. For example, when I get a new customer, I let them know from the get-go, I tell them, and this is part of my personal protocol and system, I'm going to hold your hand for the first month or 2 to help you get set up on the products. But my goal is for you to be confident in your daily regimen. And so once we get you there, then I'll probably check in with you every 4 to 6 weeks to make sure you're doing well. Those are boundaries, right? Like I just laid out the parameters for my working relationship with them. Now, let's say I get them set up with their regimen, good to go. 6 weeks from now, I check in with them again. and they tell me they haven't been consistent with the products. Well, I either have the option now of holding their hand for another 2 months to make sure they take their products, but guys, I don't want to do that. I don't want to hold their hand for 2 months. I'm going to hold their hand for 1 week. And I'll tell them that. Okay, let's use this week to get you back on track, and then you'll be good to go. And here's the truth. If in another 6 weeks I check in with them and they're still not taking their products consistently, guess what? They don't care that much about Plexus. So I'm now faced with either I need to remind them of their original goals of why they started Plexus. Okay, when you started Plexus, you told me you wanted it to help you with this and this and this. Are you still interested in addressing those things in your life? If they are, then letting them know you have got to take these products consistently. I don't want to see you waste your time and your money on these products, and I'm encouraging them in the consistency. Or if they don't really care about those goals anymore, giving them the freedom to quit and to say, is now not a good time for you to be starting this? Would it be better if I checked back in with you 3 months from now to see if that's a better time for you to really jump all in with this? We've got to give people the freedom to back out. Maybe they jumped in too soon. Maybe they're not ready for Plexus. But those boundaries are setting you up for success and them long term. You don't want them wasting their time and money, and they don't want to be wasting their time and money. And so figuring out when is the best time for you to be fully invested in Plexus. Now, hopefully that's not our goal with people, is to let them go. But do you see how those boundaries along the way kept me from hemming and hawing and worrying and being frustrated that why won't they take these products consistently? It frees me up to say, maybe they're not ready for this, because I followed my protocol, and I do this with every single person. And so I know that most of the time this protocol works, and that I help people get set up on their regimen. I check in with them every 4 to 6 weeks. I troubleshoot. I help them tweak their products. And long term, I'm hoping they're enjoying their products. But there are those times where we have to be open to saying to people, is now a good time? Are you wanting to see these goals met now, or would 3 months from now be better? And I always, even when people say, you know what, now's not a good time, I always finish by saying, I believe Plexus will help you. That me letting them go is not a way of me saying, yeah, Plexus probably isn't a good fit for you. No. Plexus is a good fit for them. They're just not ready for it. And so I communicate at the end, I'm really looking forward to talking to you again 3 months from now, because I know Plexus will help you reach your health goals. So I realize I'm kind of on a tangent, but I just wanted to illustrate how a system with boundaries is setting you up for success and the person you're talking to. I think with our business, we can have all sorts of systems of duplication. I think there's kind of a little protocol for what to do when someone asks for more information. There's a protocol for what do you do when someone orders for the first time. There's a system for what do you do for a new business builder, right? So we've got like big picture system of like power of 3, go silver, duplicate. But then there's all these little protocols. And I'll say this from my experience too, is I think you want to learn the skeleton of the system But then at the end of the day, you've got to own it and you've got to make it your own and you've got to feel really comfortable with it, because if you're going to be doing this with every single person, it's got to flow from you, right? You've got to be comfortable with the way you're articulating things and the way you're saying things, because maybe you are saying, or you're going to say something a little differently than I would, but the overall foundation and skeleton of it is the same. It's a little bug flying around. So that was essentially all I had to share. Just wanted to share this with y'all. And y'all, the book is good. I definitely oversimplified it. The way that he kind of fills in everything that I shared with you guys is really good. It's $6. It's so worth it. So definitely get that and take 30 minutes to read it and really continue to let this concept penetrate, because you guys are leaders. You have teams. You've got at least 20 people underneath you, either as a customer or an ambassador or a business builder. I know each of you have people working the business right now, right? And so being able to pass on a simple, consistent, duplicatable system to them, it's actually going to be exciting for them, guys. Let me remind you, because there's a chance you may not believe this. The people that have joined you are depending on you to help them. Never, ever minimize yourself to where you think they don't, or they wouldn't want your help, or you can't help them. Guys, you can help them. You will help them. You should help them. They have joined this because of you. They trusted you. And so remember that. Remember that and keep that in mind. And you going to them and excitedly saying, guess what? I am all about simplifying my business right now, and I want to work smarter and not harder. Would you want to do that with me? Who's not going to say yes? Right? I say it to you guys all the time and you're like, yes, that's what I need. That's what we're all craving. We're all craving simplicity. And so the more we can take this business and simplify it, and just boil it down to the bare basics, like to where if you were going to teach a 10-year-old how to work this business, what would you break it down to? That's what we're talking about here. So your people are craving that. I promise you, they're craving simplicity and they're craving clarity and they're craving your help because they love you and they want to do this with you. And how much more fun would it be? And I'll tell you, it is fun to be successful doing something that's simple and that's easy. I think all of us, and I say this with a grateful heart, we all get paid way too much for what we do with Plexus, right? Like for what we do, we are getting paid way too much because this is way too much fun, and it is simple and it should be simple. The fact that we get paid every single month, guys, is just awesome. And like I said, I say that so gratefully and so thankfully, and I'm so thankful for our compensation plan that lets us, it allows us to not have to stress every month about quotas and all that kind of stuff, that we get our 100 PV in and we get paid, which is amazing. So that is what I had. I saw Elissa typed a question. Okay, so when you identify a breakdown of duplication, do you address it as the leader or teach your level 1 or 2 to address it down below? Ideally, you are training your level 1. Well, yeah, let's just start at the top. Your level 1, you're going to talk about them, about what you've noticed. and then maybe include your level 2. I mean, it depends how deep down in your organization the duplication, the breakdown is. But so ideally you would go to your level 1 and talk about it in a proactive, productive way, right? There's no judgment. It's just like, hey, I don't know if so-and-so is duplicating us. Have you talked to her about it? No. Okay, let me see if my ambassadors talked to her about it, and just figure out what conversations have taken place, where's the breakdown, and hopefully it's a simple fix. That's all very ideal. But yeah, I would say start there. People are complex, relationships are complex, and so it can be more complicated than that for sure. But yeah, I would find out, like, and sometimes, guys, it's as simple as reaching out to the sponsor and saying, hey, will you walk me through what you do when you sign up a new ambassador? Find out what their system is. Maybe they don't have one. And then say, like, hey, if I showed you a few simple steps that would set you and them up for success, would you be interested in learning? Chances are they would be. You know what I'm saying? So I think it can be as simple as that, of asking a few little questions and then equipping them and passing that down. Alrighty, I'm going to stop recording. So if you're watching this recording, thank you so much. Hope it was helpful.